It was a warm, peaceful afternoon in the quiet suburbs of Mesa, Arizona. The kind of day that felt completely ordinary. Inside his home, 30-year-old Travis Alexander moved through his routine like any other day. He laughed as he posed in the mirror, snapping light-hearted pictures in his bathroom. It was easy to imagine he felt safe at that moment, relaxed, carefree. But while Travis smiled at the lens, something sinister stood just out of frame. A familiar face, someone he knew well, someone who had once shared good times, laughter, and trust with him. Yet beneath that seemingly calm surface, something had changed. Jealousy had festered quietly, turning bitter. Heartbreak had twisted into anger, and what once may have been affection was now poisoned by obsession. Travis had no idea that while he lived in the comfort of the moment, danger was standing close, far too close. Seconds later, that thin line between peace and horror would shatter. What happened in that bathroom wouldn't just end the laughter. It would leave behind a trail of blood, lies, and haunting questions. By the time the sun set that evening, Travis Alexander's life would be stolen in the most brutal way imaginable. And the person responsible? Well, let's find out. Welcome. This is Crime Uncovered, where every case has a story, and the truth is often stranger and darker than fiction. If you haven't subscribed yet, kindly do so to stay updated on the latest crimes we uncover. It's normal for people of his age to gather every now and then and have a few drinks, tease, and laugh at jokes. But it's already been 5 days since Travis' friends heard from him. It was June 9th, 2008, and something just wasn't right. For friends of Travis Alexander, silence had never felt so loud. Travis, the man who lit up every room, who was always on his phone or making plans, has been unusually silent and out of reach. There were no calls, text, nor a glimpse of his presence online. At first, they convinced themselves it was nothing. Maybe he was busy, needed space. But as the days passed by, their worry grew. When they could no longer wait for him to reach out, they decided to pay him a visit. They drove to Travis's quiet Mesa home, a place that had always felt safe and warm. From the outside, everything appeared normal. The sun beamed down. The yard was untouched. You know the saying, do not judge a book by its cover. You can only give a fair judgment after you have gone through every page of the book. After they had knocked and there was no response, one of the friends who knew code to the house opened the door. The moment the door creaked open, a wave of dread rolled over them. An awful smell, sour, heavy, clung to the air. Different thoughts ran through their head as to what could be the cause of the smell. But as they climbed the stairs, the odor thickened, turning their casual concern into cold fear. Something was horribly wrong. Reaching Travis's bedroom, they found the door locked. Hearts pounding, they used a spare key. The door opened to a scene that would be forever seared into their memories. Blood. It stained the carpet in large, dreadful streaks. A silent crimson trail leading them toward the bathroom. And there, behind the shower's glass door, they found him. Travis's body was curled tightly in the fetal position, as though in his final moments he had tried desperately to shield himself. He had been stabbed dozens of times. His throat was slashed so deeply it nearly. And as if that wasn't enough, there was a bullet hole on his head, a clear evidence of a calculated act. His skin was darkened with the chilling signature of livor mortis. He had been gone for days. The friends were frozen with fear, horror gripping every inch of them. Tears mixed with terror as reality set in. They called 911 to report the tragic scene. But even in that frantic moment, a dark suspicion surfaced among them, almost as if instinctively, they knew who might be capable of such rage. As detectives swept through Travis Alexander's home that dreadful June evening, something about the scene immediately sent chills down their spines. There were no shattered windows, no splintered doors, no signs of forced entry at all. Nothing suggested a stranger had barged in with violent intent. Instead, it was disturbingly clear whoever had entered this house had been invited. The killer was not an outsider. This was someone Travis trusted, someone he knew, and yet, the serenity of that unlocked home sharply contrasted with what they found next. Just beyond the entryway and upstairs, There were blood stains on the wall. It ran through the hallway, along the floor as if left behind by desperate, staggering footsteps. The crimson stains led to the bathroom, where the nightmare had played out in full. Then came something even more disturbing. A bloody handprint, pressed against the wall, his fingers stretched wide in fear. The scene said it all without any words. This wasn't quick or easy. It was wild, messy, and brutally violent. As crime scene techs worked carefully, they noticed something small but telling. Strands of long, dark hair scattered near the shower and on the bathroom floor. Female hair. Meanwhile, in the laundry room, officers made a discovery. A digital camera, still wet from the washing machine, sat quietly among soaked clothes. It was already damaged, but the investigators knew something can still be done. The memory card inside was rushed to forensic experts. When the recovered data finally loaded on their screens, the room fell silent. The images were deeply unsettling. The first photos, taken on June 4th, appeared innocent, even tender. Travis was alive, posing playfully with the person behind the camera. Smiling, relaxed, unaware that his final moments were being documented forever. But the mood shifted rapidly. The very last clear image, shot at 5:29 p.m., showed Travis in the shower, vulnerable, his eyes cast downward. Moments later, the tone of the photos turned chaotic. Blurred, jarring pictures filled the screen. They seemed to capture a struggle. The camera, apparently dropped or knocked from a hand, had continued firing, snapping ghostly, accidental glimpses of something terrifying unfolding. Images of motion, possible scuffle, and chillingly, one last shadowy shot that hinted at what may have been his final moments alive. At that point, investigators knew the person who had left Travis in such a situation came prepared. As investigators dug deeper into Travis Alexander's life, one name kept surfacing: Jodi Arias. To his friends, that name sparked immediate concern. She wasn't just any ex-girlfriend. She was the ex, the one Travis never seemed able to completely escape. Their relationship had been complicated from the start. Jodi Arias, born on July 9, 1980, in Salinas, California, didn't come from a picture-perfect background. She would later describe her childhood as turbulent, even claiming her parents had been physically abusive. But others who knew her back then remembered something different. A soft-spoken, artistic young woman who spent hours behind a camera, passionate about photography and eager to express herself. By 2001, Jodi's life appeared fairly ordinary. She worked as a waitress and eventually entered a serious relationship with Daryl Brewer, her manager, who was far older than her. Together, they built a quiet life in California and even owned a home together. But the stability didn't last. In 2006, everything began to change. Jodi started working for Prepaid Legal Services, a company where ambition and networking thrived. She soon became drawn to the Mormon faith, and this new spiritual path strained her relationship with Brewer. She became more distant, and eventually they split. That same year, fate, or perhaps misfortune, intervened. In September 2006, Jodi attended a business convention in Las Vegas. There, she met Travis Alexander. Travis was everything Jodi admired. Charismatic, confident, and a powerful motivational speaker, Travis had built himself up from a painful childhood, surrounded by poverty and addiction. Raised by his grandmother after his parents split, he embraced his Mormon faith and became a respected member of his community. To Jodi, he was magnetic. They clicked instantly. Within weeks, the relationship turned serious. Jodi converted to Mormonism, eager to share Travis's faith, and relocated closer to him in Mesa, Arizona. What began as passionate and exciting, however, soon took a dark turn. Jodi's infatuation quickly spiraled into obsession. She became jealous, sometimes explosively so, regularly accusing Travis of cheating, demanding to know where he was, and even going through his phone. The relationship became toxic and volatile for Travis to handle. By mid-2007, Travis had seen enough. The constant fighting and possessiveness pushed him to officially end things. Yet, cutting ties with Jodi wasn't easy. Despite the breakup, they continued to see each other privately. Their relationship turned into a dangerous cycle. full of late-night visits, intimate encounters, and emotional manipulation. While Travis tried to move forward, dating other women and focusing on his future, Jodi clung tightly to the past. Her behavior grew more erratic. She allegedly slashed Travis's tires twice. She reportedly broke into his home, at one point crawling through the dog door to confront him. Friends of Travis grew deeply concerned. They could see Jodi's grip tightening as her jealousy turned more desperate. Some even warned Travis outright that she was dangerous. But despite all of this, Jodi remained in his orbit. And soon, that obsession would reach a point of no return. By the spring of 2008, Travis Alexander was ready to turn the page. He was moving forward with his life, both personally and spiritually. In his heart, he knew his relationship with Jodi Arias was toxic. He wanted stability, happiness, and love without the chaos. So when the opportunity came to take a trip to Cancun with friends and colleagues, he was eager. He invited someone new, Mimi Hall, a woman he admired and who, unlike Jodi, brought calm and positivity into his life. At one point, it had been Jodi's name on the itinerary, but Travis changed his mind. The decision was final. Jodi would not be joining him. For most, rejection is painful, but for Jodi Arias, rejection seemed unbearable. To her, this wasn't just about a lost vacation. It was about being replaced, being discarded, being unwanted, and it broke something inside her. According to friends, Jodi had already been spiraling. She clung to whatever scraps of connection she could maintain with Travis, even as he pulled away. But this public and undeniable rejection was the final blow. Just days later, on May 28, 2008, something suspicious happened. A gun was reported stolen from Jodi's grandparents' home in Eureka, California, where she had been staying. Oddly, there was little sign of a break-in. Investigators would later question whether this was truly a random theft or something much more calculated. Then came the road trip. On June 2, 2008, Jodi rented a car. She specifically asked for something more subtle, something that wouldn't draw attention. She packed carefully, too carefully. Along with her belongings, she loaded multiple gas cans into the car. Not because she feared running out of fuel, but because she had a plan. By filling up in advance, she could drive long distances without stopping at gas stations, leaving no credit card receipts or surveillance footage behind. Her official story was simple. She told friends she was heading to Utah to visit a colleague, Ryan Burns. Nothing unusual there. It was, on the surface, just another business trip. But in reality, Jodi had a different destination in mind. While she smiled and texted about Utah, she was quietly steering her way toward Mesa, Arizona, toward Travis, the man who had rejected her, the man who was preparing for life without her. What Jodi planned to do next would forever shatter both of their worlds, and no one around them saw it coming. The evening of June 4, 2008, began with tension hidden behind a facade of normalcy. Jodi Arias had arrived at Travis Alexander's home after a long and deceptive journey. Still, she played it cool. She called him multiple times during her drive, setting the stage as if nothing was out of the ordinary. But beneath her calm surface, something dark was brewing. At 5:29 p.m., Jodi picked up Travis's camera and snapped what would become the last known photo of him alive. In it, Travis stood in the shower, seemingly relaxed, unaware that behind the lens, danger was seconds away. Then, everything changed. Sometime after that final photograph, violence exploded inside the bathroom. Jodi attacked. The assault was frenzied and vicious. Travis, caught off guard, fought desperately to defend himself. His hands and arms bore deep defensive wounds, each a silent testament to his will to survive. But Jodi was relentless. As he attempted to flee, leaving a gruesome trail of blood behind him, she pursued. In the hallway, weakened and cornered, Travis collapsed. That's where she delivered the most devastating blow, a brutal slash across his throat, severing vital arteries and ending his life in horrifying fashion. Still, her rage wasn't satisfied. She dragged his lifeless body back to the shower, where she staged his final resting place. Then, with chilling coldness, she fired one last shot, a bullet above his left eyebrow, sealing the end of the brutal attack. Before leaving, Jodi tried to erase the chaos. She hastily wiped surfaces, gathered some of the evidence, and tossed Travis's broken digital camera into the washing machine. But in her rush, she overlooked the truth. That camera still held the story. And soon, its recovered images would help expose the dark and calculating killer behind this shocking crime. At first, Jodi Arias did what many killers do when cornered. She pretended everything was normal. When detectives reached out, she appeared calm and cooperative. She gave them her DNA and fingerprints willingly. She acted shocked and heartbroken when asked about Travis's death, claiming she hadn't even been in Mesa at the time. To many, she played the role of the grieving ex flawlessly. But behind the polite words and soft voice, the truth had already begun slipping through the cracks. Soon, investigators uncovered details that shattered her carefully crafted lie. First came the recovered photos from the camera Jodi had thrown into the washing machine. Images that told a haunting story. The early shots showed a seemingly intimate afternoon between her and Travis. But as the timeline progressed, the mood turned dark. The final photos captured Travis alive in the shower, and then the chaos that followed. Then came the forensic bombshell. In Travis's bloodied bathroom, analysts found something chilling. His blood mixed with Jodi's in a handprint smeared on the wall. This wasn't circumstantial. This wasn't a coincidence. It was physical proof that she was there when he died. Additionally, a bloody footprint, later matched to her, further cornered her into a version of events she could no longer escape. Faced with undeniable evidence, Jodi's stories began to twist and change. First, she claimed masked strangers had broken in and murdered Travis while sparing her life. She described these intruders in vague, cinematic detail. Faceless villains who had supposedly turned her world upside down. Detectives weren't buying it. Soon after, under the growing weight of the investigation, she changed her story again. This time, she admitted that she killed Travis, but insisted it was self-defense. She painted a disturbing picture of a violent Travis who, she claimed, snapped and attacked her. According to Jodi, she fought back, panicked, and somehow ended up stabbing him nearly 30 times, slitting his throat and shooting him. Her explanation didn't match the brutality of the scene. Meanwhile, her behavior during questioning grew stranger and more unnerving. When left alone in the interrogation room, Jodi didn't show the demeanor of a woman shattered by trauma. Instead, she sang softly to herself, performed handstands against the wall, and at one point smiled into the surveillance camera, asking playfully, "How do I look?" It was a disturbing moment, a glimpse behind the mask of grief she tried so hard to wear. By now, for detectives and the public alike, the pieces were fitting together. Jodi Arias wasn't a terrified victim. She was a manipulator whose lies had finally begun to unravel, and soon her darkest truths would be exposed in front of the world. In January 2013, the long-awaited trial of Jodi Arias began, a trial that gripped the nation. Jodi stood before the jury claiming the brutal murder was not premeditated. She said Travis had become violent after she accidentally dropped his camera, and in a panic, she fought back. According to her, it was self-defense, not rage. But prosecutors argued otherwise. They painted Jodi as a calculated killer. They pointed to key evidence: the gas cans she used to avoid stopping at gas stations, her phone being turned off to avoid creating a digital trail, and the hair dye to change her appearance. Witnesses backed this narrative. Friends of Travis testified about Jodi's obsessive behavior. She had stalked him, slashed his tires, broken into his home, and hacked his social media accounts. To them, Jodi had crossed every line long before that deadly day. Psychologists took the stand as well, but their opinions clashed. The defense described her as traumatized, with memory loss caused by years of abuse. On the other hand, prosecution experts pointed to borderline personality disorder, suggesting Jodi was manipulative, controlling, and unstable when rejected. Over the course of 18 intense days, Jodi herself took the stand. Her stories shifted, emotions fluctuate, and contradictions piled up, leaving the jury with more questions than answers about her true motives. On May 23, 2013, the jury reached its verdict. Jodi Arias was guilty of first-degree murder. However, when it came to sentencing, the jury became deadlocked on whether she should face the death penalty. A second jury faced the same dilemma. In the end, the decision was left to the judge. In April 2015, Jodi was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Though justice was served, for many, the shadow of obsession and betrayal that defined the case would never truly fade. Jodi now resides in Perryville Prison in Goodyear, Arizona. Despite numerous appeals and attempts to reshape her narrative, the evidence has remained overwhelming. For Travis's family and friends, the loss still stings. His story, one of resilience, ambition, and tragedy, continues to resonate deeply with those seeking justice and truth. And in the annals of American true crime, this case stands as a brutal reminder of how love can turn deadly when obsession overtakes reason. Every victim deserves their story told. If you found this story shocking and heartbreaking, subscribe to Crime Uncovered and help keep their memory alive. What do you think about Travis Alexander's murder? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, keep questioning everything.